All right, folks, welcome to Promises to Keep. We're going to go ahead and get started for episode 7. And we're really super excited for this episode. Today, Alisa is going to debut and kind of introduce her her program that she's been putting together for a while. I'm pretty excited to for you guys to see what she does. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Alisa to talk about Your Goals in 90.
Hey guys, all right, so welcome. I'm really excited about tonight's episode. This is definitely right up my alley, and I want to tell you first off that this is a 30 year in the making of really how to set goals and how to achieve them. I've had many failing forward moments, but I started when I was about 15. I was a terrible teenager. I don't know, you can imagine that, but I was a very dysfunctional teenager. I blamed myself a lot. I self-inflicted a lot of, personal pain, and just, I was in my head a lot. And I'm just so grateful that, through my parents and some of my coaches and just some of my mentors at the time, which were mainly family, that they guided me to really start and progress forward with setting goals and learning how to achieve them through a strategy. Now, this wasn't an overnight thing, and that's really why I wanted to start this dialogue at the beginning. Is don't feel bad if you don't if you consider yourself somebody that, one, either doesn't want to set goals because you're always let yourself down, or two, maybe you set goals before and you feel more terrible because you didn't hit the goal, and so you'd rather just live your daily existence, if you will, without feeling like a failure because you just had not that much success in goal achievement. So this is for you. This is going to be the fundamentals of goal achievement, and it literally is going to be the foundation of moving forward. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard. It's a difficult journey, no matter what stage you are in. And I'm a true believer in whatever challenges arrive are the ones that you need at this moment. And then once you overcome them, then the next one is along the way. So just be open-minded to the fact that if you can look at life as a series of challenges, and as soon as you get it, straightened out and you knock it out of the park, the next one's around the corner. And so hopefully that is a good preview for goals, and I'm just excited about you being able to watch this and being open-minded about this, because like I said, not a lot of people have had the most positive experience with goals, but I love them even when I fail, because when I fail, I feel like I learn the most. And it's just been, I think, a series of epic failures. Failing forward is what I call it, that really have shaped my life and put, I believe, David and I where we're at right now. Like I said, it's 30 years in existence, so it didn't happen overnight. So just be ready for that, and just know that. So let's get started. So I want to first start with a goal without a plan is just a wish. So this is one of the things that there's going to be some parts of this training that I'm going to be very tolerant of, and then there's going to be some parts that I have no tolerance for. And the reason why I have no tolerance for, if some of you guys are parents, you'll know that when your child is at risk of getting hurt, or if they're doing something that is like one of the banes of your existence. Like for me, if my child was ever lazy, that was one of the, go-to 0 to 100. Or of course, if she was in the way of getting hurt or danger. These are things that will ignite you and put you in an instant, 0 to 100. So that is what I'm preparing you for, is that there are some things that I'm going to be very adamant about. There's no negotiation, and there's going to be a lot of gray areas. This one, no negotiation. A goal without a plan is just a wish. One of the things that I find very frustrating when talking to people about goals is they don't want to make a plan. They don't want to put it in writing. They don't want to even say it. They don't want to commit to it. Well, then it's just a wish. And let's be honest, wishes sometimes come true. but more times than not, they do not come true. So we need to set a plan. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, if you will, about goals. So we're going to go, and the format that I'm going to use tonight is a 4-week process, but I'm going to do an overview for the 4 weeks. And with one of the programs that I've launched, it's called Your Goals in 90. This is basically an overview of the first 4 weeks. So this is week 1. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about SMART goal setting. So with SMART goal setting, it's very important for you guys to understand what is SMART goal setting. So in SMART goal setting is the S is for specific. It's very important that we have a set specific goal. It can't be a loose goal. It's got to be very, well, specific. So that's the S. The M is measurable. A lot of people will say, oh, I have this goal. Let's say I want to lose 30 pounds. And then there's no measuring of it. How are you going to measure that? Is it 30 pounds of fat? Is it, I want to lose 30 pounds of muscle? Is it, you know, so you need to have a measurement. So in the instance of 30 pounds, let's say weight loss, what I like to do is I like to share with people that I also call it fat release. I think it's really important that, you know, you don't want to lose something, because losing something means that usually that it's a negative thing and it will come back to you. So by releasing it, you've released it and you've let it go. Okay, so that's really important, and words do matter. So I think that's another thing that's really key is, for instance, if I tell you not to think of a pink elephant, what's the thing that you thought of? You thought of a pink elephant, right? So words matter, and you really, words are super powerful. So it's really important that you have some type of measurement. So for me, with weight release, you need to have a scale. Now I know for some people scale is a little bit scary, but it's for measurement purposes only. It's just to identify whether you're going on the track of your goals or not. Also, I would recommend like a fat loss machine. So those are like handheld machines, because sometimes the scale isn't going to read the weight that you're releasing. Now remember, there's an old adage that says muscle weighs more than fat, but that's not true. Muscle weighs the exact same amount so like a pound of muscle weighs the same as a pound of fat. But the thing about muscle is it's condensed. So the pound of muscle is going to be this size, where the pound of fat is going to be this size. So it's not really, it's not, what you want to do is, that's how you measure with the tape measure. So you take, that's the third thing that I would always suggest is use a tape measure, because your weight may not fluctuate, but your inches condense. So I don't know about you, but you know, I would rather be smaller and weigh the same than be larger and weigh less. So think about that. It's very important. But psychologically, you have to understand the power of measurement. You have to release any holding that you have on, let's say, for instance, scales. You know, if you've had some bad experiences with scales, maybe leave the scale out. Maybe only do your inches, you know, with the tape measure and then the fat loss machine. But anyway, there has to be a way to measure it. That's very, very, very important. Otherwise, you have no idea where you're going along your goal, okay? The next thing is the A. So this is the SMART goal setting. A is for achievable. So this has to be something that you actually can achieve. So the goal can't be something that's magic. You know, it has to be something that really you can achieve. And then the R is really important. It's got to be something that's realistic. Now, I'm not a Debbie Downer by any means. I think anybody could achieve pretty much any goal. But I also think you have to be realistic in the fact that if you make a goal of, I want to lose 100 pounds in 90 days, is that really healthy for you? It should be broken down into a series of 90 days. So that's really what I'm talking about, realistic. Yes, of course, you can lose 100 pounds. I've helped over a dozen people lose 100 pounds, but they didn't do it in 90 days. That is not healthy. So the last one is the T, the T in SMART is for timely. It's very important that you put a time to it. Another pet peeve that I have is when people will say, my goal is such and such, and I'm gonna try, right? So it's a trying goal, which really irks me. You know, try is just, you know, it's saying that, yeah, you're going to make it some effort, but it's more likely that you're not going to do it. So there is only do, not try, right? What was the Yoda, right, David? Yes. There is no try, only do.
Or do not.
Or do not. Yes. So that's really important. So with the timeliness of it, you have to put a date to it. One of my favorite goals that we ever achieved was something that it's so powerful when this happens to you. So I want to share this story with you. And some of you guys are going to be like, yeah, right, that didn't happen. But I can promise you it did happen, and I would never, ever lie, and especially about something like this. So when we first joined Visalis, the company that David and I lost 100 pounds with 6 years ago, and we June 15th was a 6-year anniversary of joining, but July 5th was our first day of starting the challenge. So 6 years ago, July 5th. One of the things that David wrote down as a goal for our business was to hit a 6-figure income by a year to the date of us joining. Okay, so now remember, we joined June 15th in the business, but we started the challenge July 5th. And we hit the 6-figure income July 5th, a year later. And so he wrote it, he put it in writing, he put it in our office, and it was up there for, I would say, probably 90 days into starting our, our fun time with Visalis. And I didn't notice it until about 90 days in. And I didn't laugh at it by any means, but in my head, I was like, first off, we're not doing it for the money and we're not doing it for the business, but I'm going to support that. But that really wasn't in my mind. My mind was about losing the 70 pounds that I had put on. But I'm telling you, as we got closer to that date and as it became more real, that was so powerful. And I've done that lots of times in my gym industry, as a coach or as helping athletes. Putting those things in writing are so powerful, and they have power. They happen. So
yeah. It was pretty amazing, because when the very first event that we went to with Visalis, we went there and all the new ambassadors were crossing the stage and they did the ambassador oath. And I was so impressed with it, and I recorded it. And so when I got home, what I did is I transcribed the recording, because I didn't have a copy of it, and onto a Word doc, and then I printed it out, I dated it, and I signed it. And sure enough, it was amazing. But here's the thing. I did that a week out, when we got home from our first event, but then I pinned it to my wall, and it just sat there on my wall with a bunch of other stuff. And I never really thought about it and looked at it again. And not until after we actually went ambassador, like she said, on July 5th the following year, I saw it a week after that. And I was just so amazed, because right down to the date, and I looked at it and it was dated and everything. It was pretty amazing.
So with that, I'm going to move on, but I just wanted to tell you the power of putting things in writing. Very, very important. And David did all of the SMART goal setting, maybe even without even knowing, but he had it, the S, the M, the A, the R, the T that I just went over. Next thing is visualization. Visualization is the most powerful form of processing. So your mind is only going to understand what you tell it. It is not going to understand whether it's fact or fiction. So what you visualize, like what your brain, the pictures that you show it, it doesn't know whether it's real or not. It is going forward as if it is real. So visualization is extremely important, and I'm a huge believer in that, obviously, because of my background as a coach. But each morning I wake up, this is one of the things that I do every single day. I visualize. I visualize yesterday's accomplishments, and then I give gratitude, and then I visualize my goals for the day. I see them actually happening. Next thing, success habits. So success habits are super important. My acronym for habits is this: highly achievable behaviors, intensely trained skills. So I'll say that again. Highly achievable behaviors, intensely trained skills. It's very important for you guys to understand the power of habit. You have habits, whether you like it or not. They're either good or they're bad. That's the thing. They're either helping you make something positive in your life, or they're helping you with negative stuff happening in your life. So it's very important that what you do daily is a habit, whether you are going to admit it or not. So you literally are training yourself skills every single day. And that's a whole nother, program I could do on is habits. It's super important. It's just like brushing your teeth every morning. I'm sure that every one of you have that habit. whether you do it after the shower, before the shower, you know, I do it as like the first thing that I do when I wake up. But everybody has it in a different part of their day, but it's still a habit. So the power of habits is if you have a goal and you set up the action, which is coming later and what I'm going to talk about, but you set the action step that will make sure that a goal happens, you need to put it in habit mode. And how you do that is by doing it every single day. And at first it's going to be super uncomfortable. It's going to be the bane of your existence. Let's be honest. Because if you had already had it as a habit, then those goals would have been achieved. So that's the power of the habits. So it takes 21 days to build a habit also, friends. So 21 days can be a little excruciating if the action step is painful. Now we're at the action steps. So with the action steps, like for instance, on a 30-day release of 30-pound release in 90 days, one of the habits that you would want to do is your food. Obviously, nutrition is key. 20% exercise, 80% nutrition, friends. You can work out every single day, but if your nutrition isn't on par, it's not going to do you any good physically necessarily, you know, like for the weight loss, because it's 80% nutrition. Now, I'm a huge advocate in working out. I think it stimulates your brain. There's, you know, just happy thoughts that process after you've been, you know, working out regularly. But as far as releasing weight, 80% is your nutrition. So an action step would be maybe food prepping. That would be something that you would do every Sunday maybe, or every Saturday, whatever works in your schedule. But that would be an action step that I would put in as a habit. So that's a perfect example of marrying those two together. Now, week 2, this is what we're going to be doing. Calendar blocking. Calendar blocking is the key to staying sane, really. And you know, because what happens is a lot of people that I work with that try and set goals and add new things to their, you know, to their day, you already have your day pretty much how it is every day already. So now when you're putting in a new goal, you're having to put in new habits, attach action steps. So calendar blocking is the power to basically not feeling, 1, overwhelmed, and 2, like you're letting other people down. Because what happens when you add in new action steps, something's got to give. You either have to sleep less because it's going to take time to put the things in place, or you have to take something out of your current day and replace it with the action steps, the habits, those things. So calendar blocking is this. I'll give you an example of what I did when I first started calendar blocking. It's, you can Google the rocks in a jar. I can't remember the exact name, but you could Google rocks in a jar and it will give you basically the lesson. But basically you want to take an empty jar and the rocks, you'll have 4 or 5 rocks for your day. Okay, the rocks are the things, let's just flip them out for the actions that you have to do to make these habits happen, which will achieve the goal. So one of the rocks is going to be meal prepping. One of the rocks is going to be exercising. So let's just start with those 2. So meal prepping, maybe that's once a week, but you calendar block it out. It's going to take you probably a whole afternoon. Go grocery shopping, come back, prepare, you know, put them in containers, put them in the fridge. Let's start with 4 hours. Okay, so let's pretend it's on a Sunday. So Sunday after church, you know, whatever your morning ritual is, you have 4 hours in the day every Sunday that you block out for meal prepping. The next thing is exercise. Exercise should be done, you know, I would say if you've never exercised before, start with 3 days. Don't go for 7. Don't go for 5. Don't set yourself up for such a huge change that you end up stopping everything. So start small steps. So then what you do is you take your calendar and you take about an hour and a half, let's say, you know, travel time and, you know, and then the exercise time, hour and a half. You're going to put that into your calendar and you're going to block it in. Now, the most powerful thing about calendar blocking, guys, is everybody, for the most part, can get through that. What stops them from being successful is the fact that they don't understand that things are going to happen during the time that you're planning. All of these things are going to change your life for the better. So my rule is, unless there's an emergency, like somebody is deathly ill or hurt, an emergency doesn't count for, gosh, let's see. What would not be an emergency? Well, there's lots of things. Can you think of an idea? What would be an emergency is if my daughter called and she like broke her leg or her car broke down. You know, those would be emergencies that you would stop what you're doing and go help that person, then come back. What would not be an emergency is a phone call came in and it's your best friend and you're worried in the back of your head, oh my gosh, something has happened, or she wants to talk to you about her stressful thing that happened. These are the things that you want to put to later. So don't answer that phone. If it's a 911, emergency from your friend, she should know to text you and say, 911, call me. And then if your friend calls you and it's about, something that is not important, you're going to have to tell her, hey, I'll call you back after this time. Okay? So that's super important about calendar blocking. This is your time. Review goals worksheet. So in week 2, we're going to take what we set up in week 1 and we're going to review it. We're going to go over all of the challenges that come up, because there's always going to be challenges. When you start something new, something in the universe wants to rob you from moving forward. So we have to learn.
I want you to grow.
Yes, I want you to grow. That's a more positive way to put it. But it will happen, and you will feel like the world is against you. But when you build this skill set and you're equipped, you will know how to knock it out of the park and then move on. That's
your continuing education.
Yeah, David calls it continuing education. Next thing is we'll discuss habits and visualization. We're going to review and make sure that habits are in line with your goal, and we're going to make sure that you're visualizing properly. And then we're going to place new action steps in, because each week you're going to want to grow. Week 3 is progress review, failing forward moment. We're always going to have failing forward moments. We're always going to have a win. And then advanced calendar blocking. This is huge. This is when we're going to start filling in almost everything in our calendar. Action steps. So we're going to build on our action steps. We're going to place more action steps as the weeks come, and we're going to adjust them as well, because there's going to be some things that you're going to do. Like, for instance, we started with 3 days of exercise. We might build up to 5 by week 3. Week 4 is, of course, progress review. Sharpening the saw. We're going to get better at what we've just been building as far as the muscle goes. These habits, these action steps. We're going to actually sharpen the saw, and we're going to bring in experts and to help you get better and build that muscle. The next thing is advanced visualization. So I have a lot of muscle in this development of visualization. I can help you start as a beginner all the way up to very, very powerful visualization. And of course, adjusting our action steps. So here's our challenge for the week. As always, we end our TV show with a challenge, and we love to give out prizes. So here's the challenge for this week's P2K challenge. What's your #1 goal for the next 90 days? So I want you to think about that. I want you to write it down. I want you to post it on social media, and I want you to tag David and I on your post. And then I would like you to also add in 3 people that you think this might be helpful for. Okay, so anybody that you think that it might be helpful to go through a goal setting process, a goal achievement process.
Offer them a challenge. Say, look, this is my challenge for the next 90 days. What's your challenge? And or what's your goal for the next? And then have them and then tag the 3 people.
Yeah, definitely engage them. The other thing is to use the hashtags, #P2K and #YourGoalsin90. So with that, guys, I am going to wrap this TV show. I'm going to have David conclude, and it's been a pleasure talking to you today about one of my favorite subjects, goal achievement.
Awesome. Thank you, Alisa. So what we want to do is just remind you, every Sunday night at 6:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll go live and we'll talk about whatever's on our mind at the time. Next week is super exciting. Next week is our anniversary.
Woo-hoo! 11 years.
So we're actually going to come to you live, and we're going to do a little bit of review about our journey and just
maybe some of our favorite memories.
A walk down memory lane, maybe some funny stories and that kind of thing. So it should be fun, and I hope you guys can make it. With that being said, be sure to do your P2K challenge and tune in next week. If you have any questions, our website is promises2keep.com.
And
just
it's
like
the number 2.
The number 2.
Promises 2. Yep.
Yep. And with that, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you soon.